Good morning, amazing people tuning in. Welcome back to the Engine Builder Show. For our episode today, Gabe will be sharing with us what his 4-year-old nephew taught him about entrepreneurial success. Again, thank you everybody so much for watching our show and enjoy the show. Good morning, everybody.
There was always a ton to learn. Earlier this month, we had a big 4th of July party over the 4th of July weekend. And I have like 15 nieces and nephews now. It's hard to keep track of the number, but right around there now. And we were outside playing and cooking out and doing all the fun things we were doing. And I decided to build a fire so we could cook some marshmallows later. And one of my younger nephews, who's 4, he came over and asked me what I was doing. And I said, I'm building a fire. And I asked him, do you want to help? And he said, yeah, I'd love to help. And so I said, I was at the fire and like our wood pile was, I don't know, probably 50 feet away. And I said, well, I need 3, pieces of kindling so I can get the fire going and get it lit and everything. And he just took off and ran as hard as he could towards the wood pile, and then picked out some sticks and he charged back. And he would, and then I was like, awesome. I thought I was only going to ask him for 3 because I didn't know if he actually wanted to help, but I needed more. And I said, I need 3 more. And then I need 3 more. And every time he would run full speed to go get the kindling and run full speed back to me. And he just had such an amazing positive attitude and smiling ear to ear and just thrilled to be able to help with something. And for me, it just taught me a lesson in that moment. I'm really grateful to have all my nieces and nephews, and I really like interacting with all of them. And in that moment, it was just really special to me because I could see how passionate he was. Like, he was so excited. He was so engaged and so ready to help. And it's easy for us as entrepreneurs to lose our passion and our drive when we're stuck in a rut, or even when we're successful at some level. That can actually create us getting stuck. Or there's been plenty of times, and I could be the only one, but maybe not. There's been plenty of times where I've had a really successful month or a really successful year even, and I actually feel a little depressed or stuck. And I think that's common when we push really hard for something. It's easy to either achieve it and then have this letdown feeling, or to not achieve it and definitely be discouraged and get off track in our focus and our why of, why we're actually showing up for something. And so one of the keys, if you're in a position where you're feeling stuck, you're in a rut for whatever reason, because there's so many things that cause it, is first, just be kind to yourself and accept the fact that you're going to have these ups and downs. There are so many emotional swings in being an entrepreneur and leading a business and growing something and creating a new product or just any new endeavor, even just from a leadership perspective. There's so many times where there's different things that will throw us for a loop and make us feel down or discouraged or just off. And so to start with, just be kind to yourself, just accept how you're feeling and where you are and love yourself for that, because what you're doing as an entrepreneur is something that so many people are unwilling to do. They don't have the stomach for it. They don't have the skills for it. They're not willing to risk everything they have to make a better future for themselves and for the customers that they serve. So first, just be kind to yourself and be okay with that moment. It's okay to feel the way you're feeling. And I know that I was not told that enough growing up and as a young entrepreneur. And that's the first thing I want you to hear and understand today is it's okay to feel the way you feel. The second thing I would encourage you to do is realize that one of the fastest ways to get back into a positive state is to find somebody to serve and help. It can be a client, a client of customers of yours. It can be somebody in your team. It can be somebody that is not, in your professional world where you just go out and volunteer some time, or you do something, kind for a friend or your partner or spouse or one of your kids or a friend. A great way to get out of our own head and out of our own way is figure out how can I serve and encourage somebody else, because that immediately changes our perspective. The other thing to pay attention to is that so much of our energy level is, around how we practice self-care, which we talked about a lot on yesterday's episode. So if you didn't catch that, you can go back and watch it. But also it's also a choice. So we can choose the energy level that we bring to a situation, because if you were to see somebody you loved and care about, be in a dangerous situation and you had to sprint over and pull them out of it or get right involved, that's a choice that you make to jump in and serve and help them. And we can make the same choice about our day, how we start our day. We can hit the snooze button that I'm guilty of plenty of times, or we can get right out of bed and choose a positive attitude and bring that same energy, enthusiasm that I saw in my nephew, and that I'm sure you've seen in young people in your life or other people around you. They just choose that positivity and that show up. They just choose to show up with that energy, and then they take off running towards their goals. A lot of that that influences how we show up is what we've observed in other people, but equally as much, it's how we're practicing self-care and taking care of ourselves. Because if you're burnout, worn out, doesn't matter what you think or choose, you won't have the same reserves as if you actually have the energy because you've taken care of yourself. You're sleeping enough, you're drinking enough water, you're meditating, you're doing all of those things. But end of the day, there's so much of it that comes down to choice. Because again, if you were in a situation, you saw somebody you love and care about, almost get hurt, unfortunately, or something bad happened to them, so many of us can instantly muster that energy and that focus and drive to help. And so that's where the decision factor comes in, and if how much energy we're going to bring to our activity, and to the day, and how we're going to show up. And another story from kind of something that I've been involved with the last over the early months of spring and into early summer is I was assistant coach of my son's baseball team. I was sharing with my son, I said, how you show up from a body language perspective when you're pitching impacts the whole team. So sometimes early in the season, he would get discouraged. He wasn't getting the calls he wanted. And I would see him kind of put his head down and be discouraged. And I could see his body language just change. And I said, it's important to push through. And so even when you have some bad calls or you hit somebody with a pitch or, things don't go the way you plan, you can still choose to show up, put your head up, pull your shoulders back, smile, and then that impacts the team. And I said, so let's just test it. And he ended up taking my advice and doing that in one of the next games. And it was amazing how the rest of the team showed up differently when he was pitching, and they were there to support him, and he kind of led the charge. And so that's the other thing that we can do for ourselves, for our team, for the customers that we're serving. We can show up with that positivity. We can show up with that intention of bringing positive energy to the world around us. And the last thing I'll leave with you today is, I think, one of the other reasons why my nephew was so excited to run and get kindling and help me is because it was new for him. He'd never done that before. And when something is new, we can choose to be afraid of it, or we can jump in with a bunch of positivity and just go for it and try it, which is what a lot of us entrepreneurs do in the beginning. But then as we get more experienced and more sophisticated and have more processes, or just time goes on, it's easy to forget that beginner's mind and lose some of that enthusiasm. But it's up to us. We can choose that. We can choose to stay in the rut we're in, or we can choose to be positive and really push hard and be excited and show up in a way that just fuels our own energy more and fuels those around us. And the last thing that I learned from my nephew that day, that I'm learning a lot about in this season personally, is how to just celebrate your wins. He was so excited when the fire started. He was so excited to run and get new things. He was celebrating the whole time. And as we learn to celebrate our wins and really be proud of the accomplishments we've had, even if it's just making it through the week because we kept a good attitude, we kept pushing even when everything else was going wrong, we can celebrate that for ourselves and in ourselves and encourage ourselves. And again, we can set the tone for our own business, for our own life, and for all of our team members, for our customers, our family, everybody that's in our life. We can teach them to celebrate their wins. So that's something that I'm growing in and learning on. It's all of these areas we can all grow and improve, whatever level we're in. And so I would encourage you to celebrate your wins as well. So take a minute today and just ask yourself, what is life teaching me? What is the universe showing me through the people around me, through my own wins and my own failures, through the people that are in my life? How can I learn to bring that level of enthusiasm, that beginner's mind, and also just celebrate when I'm winning, even if it's a small level, because that is what will compound. It'll grow. Though when we focus on those things, they grow more. So wherever you're at today, keep going. I just want to encourage you. This is a long journey, but it can be fun. It can be full of excitement and passion, and we can celebrate our wins just as much as we can learn from our failures. So I appreciate you taking time to tune in today, and I look forward to seeing you on tomorrow's show.